Magic is found in every room, where people connect over a shared purpose. Luke, Hannah and Chris explore the role of purpose, courage, mindset and culture in every leader's quest for transformational performance.
Hello and welcome to Magic in the Room. I'm Luke Freeman.
And I'm Chris Province, and we are in for a special treat today. We've got our friend here, Sara Hardwick from Giftology. Thank you so much for being here, Sara. It's wonderful to see you again, and welcome to Magic in the Room.
Oh, thank you guys. I'm so grateful to be here. So grateful for the relationship that Giftology has with y'all, and just excited for this conversation today.
You bet, and you kind of hinted at it right there. Today we're going to talk about this whole idea of return on relationship, which I know your founder, John Ruhlin, was just, and he's been on here a couple of times with us, and was just such a champion for like how we create relationships and stewarding that. And you know, more than anyone, you guys are, as an organization, really championing this idea of like building relationships and having business results be a function of the relationships that we build. So just kind of, in your own words, maybe share with us a little bit about that, and what is the belief of Giftology and your all's approach to relationship?
Oh, well, you teed me up perfectly because you said results. And a synonym for that is like business outcomes. And that really is like our definition of ROR. It's that compounded outcomes from relational investment. So, you know, everyone's familiar with the term ROI, return on investment. The more you put in, the more you're going to get out. And that's what our core belief is when it comes to relationships and actually utilizing your investment in people, in your team, in clients, in referral partners, in the emotion and the relationship that you have with them. We believe that that can take you places that marketing can't, traditional strategies can't, that your return on relationship is the most powerful thing that you can focus on in your business.
Yeah, so I want to talk just about you individually, and what a blessing to work with an organization that really champions these ideas. But just kind of to share with our listeners, how did you kind of find yourself in this spot and with an organization that you aligned with so well?
Yeah. My story starts with none other than relationships, a relationship with my best friend, Chloe, who is still my best friend today. We went to University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill together, and in college, going to a career seminar, right? Trying to find your next step after graduating. And early on, I think it was our freshman or sophomore year, we went to this seminar where the beginning fun little exercise was just Google something that you feel like you're really good at or really love to do. I definitely could have been like math or whatever it was, but Chloe, thankfully, Chloe, my best friend, she actually encouraged me to just Google gifting. And she was like, Google gifting companies, like see if that's a thing. It was. So thankfully, Giftology's SEO worked. It was the first thing that popped up. And I bought LinkedIn Premium for $35 a month, waited till John Ruhlin, little green light came on LinkedIn, and I shot him a message, and the rest is history. I started working for Giftology while I was in college, graduated, have a full-time role here now, and am just so grateful, to your point, that I work for a company that is so aligned with my values, what I believe, from a relationship perspective, from a business, family, all the things. It's really such a blessing to work here.
Wow, that's super amazing. And I'm just curious because I don't think many people would say their story is this linear. Like, hey, I figured out something I was good at. I Googled it. Now that's what I do. But
It was just that easy.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Maybe that's what you should sell, is that your methodology on getting your dream job. But I'm curious, like the learning there from something that you kind of knew you were good at intuitively, or maybe you had gotten feedback from people like, wow, you're the best gift giver, to then like learning the science of why. Like, why are those things that I instinctually knew the right things to do and what causes that to work. I'm curious what that was like as you kind of got to peek behind the curtain of like why what you were doing worked, right? And that learning experience.
Oh, that is such a good question. And you're right. Like I probably thankfully had a little bit of an unconventional journey to like my dream job or dream career that aligns so perfectly. Um, I think for me, what it kind of snowballed out to was that I was really good, yes, in my personal life with relationships. I actually grew up as an only child. And so I think having to consistently like force myself, if you will, to build meaningful relationships outside of my family, I would say that's where it all started. And then just snowballing that out of into the power of relationships externally and how those people can really show up for you in your career. So, I mean, Chloe was the person, my best friend, to push me to do this, right? Like to look up a gifting company. That's not something that maybe everyone has in their personal circle. So, I would say it really started for me in building really solid friendships. I'm so blessed to have a great relationship with my family as well, and then I think that just naturally turned into something that I'm like, every business rises and falls on relationships. So whether you get the privilege of working for a literal relationship company like Giftology, or you are in some sort of service industry or own a small business, like it does not matter. Every business rises and falls on relationships. And if that's one of your God-given gifts of loving on people and having conversation, you can probably find a dream job in building relationship anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's pull some thread on relationship real quick and think about like why it's important and maybe what's the benefit,
Mm-hmm.
especially let's in the context of business leaders, let's pull some thread on what's the biggest benefit of having really healthy, abundant relationships. And so, Sarah, as you do this every day, I'm going to have you kind of kick us off, and then I'd love to get Luke's thoughts on, the what else. But what are the benefits of having really robust and meaningful relationships?
Yeah. I mean, something that John always used to, the phrase he always used to use is that like relationships, gifting, all these things that we do at Giftology, it unlocks loyalty. And I think true loyalty, whether that's loyalty with your team, right, internally and the way that they show up and they try their best every day at work and they're honest and trustworthy and all those things, or loyalty with clients that even maybe if you weren't the most communicative through your 1-year contract, that they know, like, and trust you enough that they're going to sign up for another year. Referral partners, right? That they build a relationship with you and a loyal one with only you, that they refer business to you and are your main lead generation source. So I would say the biggest outcome there of focusing on relationships is the fact that you can unlock loyalty. And loyalty is something that a salary can't buy, contracts can't buy. I mean, those types of things, showing up, investing in relationships, that's the type of thing that keeps people and keeps people showing up.
Yeah, I love that. And if I was going to maybe have a follow on question, sometimes we get ourselves in these conversations around businesses that operate i- really as a commodity in their product or service have to take a different approach than a company that has like a different kind of widget or some sort of super unique value proposition. I think about Facebook. No one can copy Facebook, Meta, right? They have too much money. They can copy other people and steal the markets, right? But in other companies, if I make chairs, right? Well, lots of people can make chairs and can outfit their organization or their factory to make chairs. So we have to have a different approach. And I think this idea of building loyalty through relationship is a super viable strategy. And I guess my question in all of that is like, do you see that playing out? And do you have any stories of organizations maybe that look like a commodity from the outside, right? But whenever you get into the heart and soul of the company, they really are a relationship company.
You frame that perfectly, Luke. Like there's always going to be competition, especially in these service-based business spaces, like real estate agents. There's a gazillion of those in your area, and they all do the same thing. They can help you buy and sell real estate, right? What I would say is even a step further than that is the thing that people can't copy. They can copy your marketing, they can copy your website, they can copy your cool slogan that's at the top of your webpage, right? Or on your Facebook. They can even now copy, like you posted a TikTok or Instagram reel. They can copy that. They cannot copy your relationships. So I think as the world continues to kind of live in this digital marketing space, all of those things are copyable. All of those things are also built on someone else's platform, which I love to call out because in the beginning of this year, right, like TikTok was about to go poof, and it did for a few days. And some people build their business. We actually have been calling it digital sharecropping, right? Like you are literally building the livelihood of your business on someone else's land, on someone else's property. The one thing someone will never be able to copy, never be able to take away from you is your relationships. And I think that's something all service-based business professionals are starting to remember. It's not a new concept. It's that they're starting to remember and they're seeing fruit of it.
That's I'm definitely going to steal that one.
Yeah.
That is so spot on. And what I hear you saying in that is that people can't copy your relationship, but they can't copy authentically who you are. Right.
Absolutely.
They can't copy the experience of being in a room with you or getting coffee with you or giving you a hug whenever the meeting wraps up and you're heading out. Right. Other people can't copy that. I mean, that's a great takeaway.
Yeah. And we work in a lot of, commodity businesses, whether it's lumber, cars, games. These are all things that are sold by multiple operations, the same units, right? Sold across multiple companies, but with different levels of success. And I think it's, very likely that if we're doing our jobs right, whether we're working in a service organization or dealing in a commodity business, I can give you my promotional calendar. I can give you my marketing slogan. You can use all the same colors. I can give you my strategic plan for next year, and we will still have different outcomes because you can't live what I value. Your organization should not be able to live what our organization values. And it's that it really just brings home this idea that organizations have character.
Yeah.
And organizations have energy. And how you prioritize relationships for your organization will determine a lot about the outcomes that you achieve.
Yeah. Yeah. People, I think, are uncomfortable sometimes with this idea that an organization is more like an organism than a product or than a series of processes.
Totally.
And I remember, just to kind of tack on to what you're saying, Chris, I remember working in kind of large publicly traded company space, and we would get in these conversations about strategy, and people were like, okay, well, don't email this out. Like, we can't talk about this. Don't share this with your spouse. And I was just like, we can literally send them a copy. We can send our closest competitor a copy of this PowerPoint, and they're not going to be able to do it. They can't execute it because they're a different organism than we are. Like, I can't tell a raccoon, hey, go build a dam and make a lodge that you swim under to protect yourself. Like, the raccoon it's not outfitted as an organism to do that. A beaver is, and I think, maybe a silly metaphor, but like, that's the thing that we can't copy. And I think relationships are just at the center of that. It's one of those things that give us character as organizations, and it is kind of the rocket fuel. I think about our team, and we're little, but the fact that we show up consistently, I believe that everyone on our team shows up consistently wanting what's best for the people they're on a Zoom call with or in a room with, and being curious about how can we serve you? How can we authentically serve you? How can we make today better than yesterday was and tomorrow even better? You know, I wish every company would do that. I wish every competitor would try and do that, right? Only good things come from authentically wanting what's best for the people we're in business with.
Yeah. People are so powerful. And what's funny is usually transparently when I'm talking about relationships, I'm talking about external relationships with your clients and people in your network and referral partners. But I think what we're really honing in on here, which I love, is the people within your organization. That's where it all begins. And I think focusing on the relationships there first, focusing on cultivating ROR there first, that's what then oozes out to make those client relationships extra special, that they don't only want to talk to you, Chris and Luke, like they want to talk to your assistant, they want to talk to the project manager, right? And that's what makes an organization so special. I mean, I'm just thinking about from a leadership perspective. I think the way that John was able to cultivate that in our business too, like that relationship and that camaraderie and culture and personality that we all have as a team, is he invested in us. Our leadership invests in us in ways that isn't just we have a good 401k and a good health insurance plan. And, it's like, oh, you just got recently engaged. How about take a month dinner every single month with your fiance that's paid for by the company. You work from home, awesome. Have a house cleaner twice a month so you can have your space clean and clean house, clean mind. You show up for work better. That's on us. And those are those like relational investments that get people excited to work for you, vouch for you, be like a part of your team and do whatever it takes to make your business ultimately successful.
Yeah, and I want to call out there, it's important to say, like, there's something that goes along with ROR, that it's the willingness to play the long game.
Absolutely.
And so many times, like, we say, what's the ROI? Just based on the DNA of that question, it immediately hints at in the next 30, 60, or 90 days. And it's always financial.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
It's so when we're talking about relationship building and investing in relationships, like resources, okay, what kind of resources? Well, it could be emotion, it could be time, it could be money,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's different things that I have to invest in order to seed and grow a relationship. And this notion that we're going to get before we give, I think in a healthy leader's mind, that notion is misguided.
Yeah.
For effective leaders, we're only getting back what we put forward. And that's what's multiplied. Like I have yet to meet someone that gets something from life that hasn't put that in first.
Yeah.
Whatever they're getting, they have seeded. And that includes if they're getting nothing, right? It's this idea that we can go out wholeheartedly, love people up, be champions for people, be warriors for people, and make other people's lives better, and ultimately have faith that that will circle back around. But Luke, I'm interested in your thoughts on this whole long game, short game, and how do we balance the notion of ROI, ROR, ROE, return on experience, right? As it enters our space.
Mm-hmm.
How do we process all this? How do we do some sense making of what's the right question at the right time?
It's a good question. And honestly, I feel like I'm maybe not a great person to answer it because I'm biased here.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I have for whatever reason, my instinct is always to play the long game. And I don't know that that's always the best thing. Like, I think that I need good balance. Like, I need someone to say, hey, no, raise the price now, right?
That's
Or,
good.
you know what, this is something we actually can't do. We can't say yes to this right now.
Yeah.
And maybe what I would circle back to say then is like, for me to be successful, knowing that I have that weakness and all sorts of other weaknesses, like I have to have a team that cares enough about me as a human being that they are going to be that counterweight. And like, how do we do that? We build a team that really loves each other and trusts each other enough to have the hard conversations when we need to have them. And I mean, Chris and I were both on site last week, you know, and me and a couple other folks on the team, like we just kind of turned ourselves inside out for a week, serving this organization, facilitating strategic planning. You know, I don't even know how many hours we worked in that week. I mean, I know there was more than one all-nighter, which, you know, once a year is good for me. To have a couple in a week, like it was a hard week. But to be able to do that together and then have someone be able to look at me and say like, hey, we did a really good job. That was enough.
Yeah.
Like we did what we needed to do. I need that. I'm grateful for that. Right. And
Yeah.
real authentic relationship is the only way to get that. And it's the only way to get that team that's going to provide. I mean, that's the payout, right?
Yeah.
Meaningful conversation.
When you were speaking, Luke, my mind immediately went, I could plug Giftology and Beyond Giftology in our books here, but Give and Take by Adam Grant brings to the table this concept that in the marketplace, in life, in the workplace, there's givers, there's takers, and there's matchers in the world. You just described yourself as a giver. Givers, when you rank them and the outcomes of business and all the things, givers always win. So that's a positive, but givers also always lose. And that's because givers can be suckers sometimes, unfortunately. And if we're not strategic with your point of like, investing all of this energy over and over and over into a relationship that maybe isn't serving you and isn't producing fruit after a long time, right? There's absolutely an element of playing the long game, and you should give not to get right away, but just to give and trust that the law of reciprocity is real and having faith in all these things. But at the end of the day, for this to be a strategic business plan, there definitely is a little bit of prioritization that needs to go on in your relationships. And I think that's a system that we really try to help service business professionals on and small business owners, because you can spread yourself so thin thinking that every single person in your CRM is a worthy relationship to spend your time, money, energy, effort, marketing to, or inviting to an event, right? And we talk about the system of COPE, which is collect, organize, prioritize. So like, who are those key relationships that I need to focus on? You can't spread yourself too thin. And then energize those relationships that you do feel, not that I'm going to do this because I'm going to get something in return, but this could be a really synergistic relationship that's going to create a win-win scenario for both of us. And that's where I need to spend my time. We have a finite resource of our time, money, energy, money, even when it comes to gifting, right? It's more powerful to pick 50, 100 key relationships than go through your CRM and go through all 10,000 and send $1 pen to. So that's always been our philosophy. And I think Give and Take, that book, really rounds that out nicely for teams and, the relationships you have externally alike.
Yeah. So Chris, I'll ask the question back. I'm curious your take on this short-term versus long-term ROI. How do you balance it? And what role does relationships play in that?
I like to think about, especially on the business side, just I'm going to have a bucket in the budget for relationship building.
Mm-hmm.
It's X% of top line revenue, and it's set aside for relationship building. And how that's distributed, X dollars are distributed to giftology and in-home programs. Y dollars are distributed at conferences. Z dollars are sponsorships. You know, and we do practice what we preach that way.
Yeah.
You know, and but a lot of it is from just knowing John and being plugged in the giftology and not having to guess.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, John being my first relationship there, he's, you know, like he was so staunch about do not do it when it's expected, right? Don't do it at the conference. Do it a month ahead of the conference. You know, don't lead with the thing. Don't follow up with the thing, right? Get everything warmed up before we show up, you know, but kind of learning the process of giftology and the process of building relationship and how do I prioritize and how do I energize? That process is what helps direct the resources because, you know, it's when we workshop this in our likability session, we just say, look, like who are the 20 folks that make you better? Right. Yeah. Let's start by identifying those. And then which 5 will create the strongest impact to your life if you invest in that relationship this month. And, you know, it's that process of prioritization and really looking at how am I, you know, what's the best version of me? What am I trying to become? And what relationships offer me the opportunity to do that? And because we only have so many hours. And so that's, you know, definitely a process that I learned from John that we use in our business strategies. We set aside that line item expense, you know, to use specifically on this. But Sarah, if you don't mind, like take us through, like when you kind of touched on that process that you guys use to help business leaders like us prioritize like where to focus their resources. And I think there's a large gap between what a lot of leaders think builds relationships and what actually does build relationships. So we'll stay on the positive psychology train, and we'll say, like, let's talk about those things. So when you think about kind of your life and career and your work at Giftology, what are the things that you're really focused on and activating relationships with business leaders? What are the tools and processes that you guys use?
Yeah. I'll start with what you brought up earlier, which is like there is a reality that we probably need a budget associated with investing in our relationships. Now, when you use some of the things that I'll talk about right now, like these giftology systems and philosophies, and you ingrain that into the way that you are strategically investing into relationships, your budget goes further. The dollar goes further. Those investments are actually producing return, right? Like you are actually getting ROR from a $300, $500 gift that's showing up personalized with a handwritten note and showing up before the event instead of after, versus if you passed out a little like sticky notepad that was engraved with your brand to every single person there. So that's the like general philosophy around hopefully these strategies that we have, this philosophy that we have at Giftology. If you already have some sort of marketing, relationship, gifting budget, the way we do things can hopefully make that budget go further and be more impactful. I would say the biggest thing for me personally is just truly having a system around how I'm taking care of my key relationships. So Luke, you brought up earlier, like, I feel like I do these things naturally. Like I'm a natural relationship builder. I hope through the screen you can maybe feel that. Like I enjoy building relationships. It comes naturally to me. I feel like it's an intuitive thing. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to business, and if I own a business that relies on referrals, I probably shouldn't just rely on my intuition to make sure that referrals are coming in and these relationships are staying energized. Now, also say, if I think of somebody and I'm like, I should give them a call, give them a call. That's not something that's systematic, but making sure you have the systems in place to demonstrate value on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis with some of those things, right? Like every Friday, I have time blocked off of my calendar that I'm going to send 5 videos out. And the way that I systematize that is I have the list of my key relationships on my phone, their phone numbers, and I can just click into the text thread and send the video. Like, those efficiencies and systems are what help you actually make sure that the relationship building happens, that the relationship system is being run.
So, and maybe this showed up, and this is kind of something I took away from John, is John was much more likely to send me a video than a text.
Yes.
And the you talk about arbitrage between effort and impact. The effort required to send the video instead of typing the text was very small, but the impact of sending the video instead of the text was very large.
Absolutely.
So playing that arbitrage is really it's a practical way to build a relationship. And he always had my attention. Like, if we needed to do a call, we did a call that day because he was there that day, present with me on video, instead of asking for time on a text. So those are the ways, like, it really pays off in a practical way, and something that we can take on as leaders. If we had, we'll keep it to weekdays only. For those of us that don't work weekends, doesn't include me. But let's take our 20 key relationships and put them in our phone, like what Sarah was saying, and just to start our day. Hey, starting today, I was thinking about you. I saw this thing yesterday that reminded me of you. And I just wanted to say, I hope today's great. And,
absolutely.
Touch base on whatever we talked about last time we were together, or continue the conversation around a thing. Did you see, Dodgers had a big win last night. Hopefully you and Kay caught the game. What are the things that we see that remind us of the people that are, our key relationships, and how do we touch them more often? So I think the idea to bring home here is like being intentional about contact management. Mm-hmm. Knowing how many relationships you're trying to manage and elevate, and what your processes are to, move those forward. And then what tools do you have, whether it's videos or a nice American-made handcrafted gift that is personalized in-home delivery.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, maybe that's a takeaway.
Yeah, no, I love that. And kind of quick story that I think is just this in a small way. I learned this from you, Chris. I remember we ended a meeting with someone, and this was years ago. And there was like real connection. And I mean, a lot of the work we do, like, it's pretty heart forward. It's, we try and be transformational instead of just transacting. And, we talk to people about their core values, what they want for their business, what their beliefs are, right? So we had come out of a meeting that felt really like connections happen. And I like shook the person's hand as we left and left. And I think we were like walking back to the car in the parking lot, and Chris, you just looked at me and was like, shake their hand, huh? After all that. And I was like, well, yeah, like, what do you mean? Like, I don't know. It's like awkward to give someone a hug. And that's because I'm not a touchy person, right? But I like listened and have applied that. And obviously only where appropriate, like, that's a tool that I have to take what would be, physical touch and a handshake, connection, eye contact, good things, right?
Yeah.
But really take it to the next level in saying, like, we're in this together. We have a real relationship, and I can communicate that through a quick little side hug or whatever it is, right? And like, what a great tool. My care for the people didn't change, right? My business strategy didn't change, and that I want my company to help their company, right? What changed was like a more effective tool in communicating what I already believed, and like me growing and becoming more comfortable with that.
And the energization of the relationship, that's what changed. Like those small demonstrations of value or moments, right? Like those magic moments, look at me. That's what takes the relationship further. I'm definitely team Chris on the hugging and all that good stuff. I used to, this is just so funny to me, but at big networking events in college, like went to UNC, we used to have networking events in the Dean Dome, like thousands of companies, right? And I used to go around to all the tables, shake everyone's hand, give the resume, whatever. Then I would choose like the top ones that I really wanted to be a part of, get an interview at, whatever that was. And I would always have handwritten notes in my bag. I would go into the bathroom or somewhere I was hiding, right? Sit down, write a few handwritten notes out to those people. And instead of handing my resume to that person, I'm handing a handwritten note with my phone number. That I'm sure stood out upon all of the stacks of paper and ultimately gave me that relational touch point with somebody. And that's how doors are open. That's how deals are made. And it's just those the fact I wasn't mailing it, I saved on postage, right? Like, which is now expensive. But those small gestures that you can just have and operationalize in some way, like going everywhere and just having handwritten notes ready, or even making sure that your assistant has your stationery on hand that she or he can execute, right? Those small things can take a relationship to the next level. And we just need to have some sort of system around it.
And so you have this idea of prioritization, contact management, tooling. John had completed Giftology, and we've used that in a multitude of ways. And then when he passed, he made significant progress on beyond Giftology, and kind of this next iteration where really we start diving more into relationship and, not just the tooling, but then ultimately how to carry all of that forward once the introduction happens. So would you mind just taking a minute and giving our listeners a little bit of a debrief on kind of Giftology and Beyond Giftology, both books that are available on Amazon, right? Or I'm guessing maybe through your website.
They're
right?
Amazon. Yeah. That's great.
Okay. So if you wouldn't mind just kind of take us through the continuum of those books and kind of what their intentions are, and then how they kind of inform the work that you all do day to day.
Yeah. Giftology, by the title, a little self-explanatory of the fact that it really was John's way of expressing that there's an art and a science behind gifting and how you can use that strategically in businesses. It walks through truly like the recipe to which we think gifting actually works and allows you to get some sort of outcome return on relationship. So some of those main principles, we've been mentioning them all through today, are every gift shows up with a handwritten note, not branded. The gift is not branded with your logo, but it has some sort of personalization with the recipient's last name, right? No anniversaries, birthday, Christmas gifting. So flipping a little bit of the whole like corporate gifting methodology on its head. I think that's a great read for business leaders who are looking to up their marketing strategy a little bit and learn more about how they can really make an impact with relationships through strategic gifting. But at the core of it all, giftology has never been about gifts. And that's what this next book of John's was about. It was going beyond just gifting, beyond giftology, and really focusing on relationships, the return on relationships, and specifically to small business owners, business leaders, sales professionals that have relationship-based businesses, referral-based businesses. How can you make this into a strategic system that's better than any marketing plan that you have currently, traditional marketing, SEO, right? All of these things that we spend so much time, money, energy, effort on. Is there a system that we can run to get you to earn endless word of mouth referrals? And that's really what Beyond Giftology does. Takes you through a whole slew of what we call like our RPT system, referral partner transformation. Bunch of tools, bunch of resources, great for people with teams or solopreneurs alike, and really just rounds out John's larger philosophy of relationships, but breaks it down into the systems of exactly how you can do that.
It's amazing. And, I just, when you said recipe, it did kind of bring this and in that idea that relationships create loyalty. I mean, the trust that's involved there. Um, but as we're seeding these relationships, and maybe let's put a link to this study in the show notes. So something we talk about at Marketing Boot Camp a lot is it is delight that creates loyalty. It's delight that seeds relationships. And when you think about the delivery of delight, that is something that can be person to person, and that is something that can be organization to person. So our organizations have character and they build relationships with suppliers and customers and all of that, right? So depending on how we choose to broach that and what strategies we use to create delight, and it's that notion that that's the unlock. It's delight.
Yeah.
In the recipe, when we think about American-made, high-quality, personalized items, well, those are delightful. Okay?
Yeah.
John would say to me, like, have you ever gone to a wedding and put your name on the gift you're giving them?
Right.
Like, no, that's silly. He's like, then why do you do that with your customers? Like,
Yeah.
that's just as silly.
Yeah.
Right. So he was always good at really challenging that. And with the conversation we never got to have is like, it is about delight. And it's the challenge and opportunity for us, because once we delight a person one way, you don't get to go back to that well again. You've burned that one, right? So I kind of use it. I talk about gummy worms or gummy bears and Good and Plenty's. It's when I go to a hotel room and there's gummy bears in there. Everybody gets the gummy bears. It's like, okay, great. I like that hotel. They've got really good gummy bears. But if you like, Mike and Ike's and I like Good and Plenty's, and your room has Mike and Ike's and my room has Good and Plenty's, there's an element of thought there that goes above and beyond, like, what is standard, right? And that level of delight creates a different level of loyalty. So
Chris, before you move on from that point, because you brought up hotels, I feel like it's only right. I'm sure he's told this story on here before or you before, but a story I love to share and I loved to hear John tell was how he surprised and delighted Cameron Harold, which was one of his kind of very first big mentorship relationships. Cameron was flying into Cleveland. His flight got delayed, all the things. I won't go into all the details, but ultimately John found a way and found out that Cameron liked Brooks Brothers, that he liked to come to the States and shop at Brooks Brothers. John went to Brooks Brothers, wanted to surprise and delight Cameron, bought the whole entire fall collection in his size, set it up in his hotel room, right? Like, probably got the hotel staff involved. These are all the extra steps that it does take to delight someone. And Cameron walks into his hotel room after a long flight and it's completely outfitted with his favorite store, right? And that is those moments that change a relationship for eternity. Cameron has been an incredible relationship, obviously to John's family, but also to Giftology in this season. And those are those moments of surprise and delight that stand out and just really build that loyalty in a relationship. I got lucky even a couple weeks ago when our team was in Austin, Texas. Someone took a piece out of John's playbook, shout out Vicky Reed, and I had a handwritten note and a gift in my hotel room. So you brought up hotels, and that was a story that I just absolutely love to share about John.
That's awesome.
I think they just create a great opportunity, right? Because you know who's going to be walking into this space.
Yeah.
So if you can know the person walking into the space, then there's a possibility to deliver delight. Well, you guys do gifting every day. Our giftologist, Cami, is wonderful. We work with her kind of day in and day out. We do a lot of in-home programming, both for us and for our partners. And, it's a very innovative way to think. Again, like someone upstairs might ask, well, what's the ROI? And what I would say is when you're talking about 1 to 1.5% of your customers generating 50% of your revenue, those are the folks,
Yeah.
right? They make us better. So let's make sure we have an appropriate relationship there. So, sometimes we leverage in, elevating the relationship as to make sure nobody else gets in on our space, right? Like this is our marriage, right? We're going to keep that tight.
Yeah.
We're going to do the things necessary so that things don't open up to other suitors. So
Keep dating, like
Yeah.
I'm recently engaged, and the advice that everyone says, right, when you get married is like keep dating your spouse. And it's the same thing in a business relationship. Like keep courting this person, keep showing up, keep dating them. I think something you just brought up, Chris, is like the currency typically of ROI is like you're getting dollars back or leads back, or like you can really see that. But I would just challenge people to think about how the currency of ROR, of return on relationship, is loyalty, and loyalty is what creates dollars. And that's what you are explaining here.
Absolutely. And that's, same thing when we say, well, what's the ROI on personal development? Well, if you're the organization developing the person, what's the value of retention? It's a behavioral outcome that results from engagement and loyalty and satisfaction and delight from being a part of something. Sarah, can you take a minute and, like giftology is certainly in the DNA and where the company was born and what you guys help everyone like us do. But as you got to beyond giftology, it's now bringing things to life, like communities of practice, networking, like places I can go and share thoughts about maybe how we activate these ideas together. So if you want to take a minute and maybe just talk about the opportunity that rich relationships provide and kind of what the whole goal of that might be.
Yeah, absolutely. Just as we've talked about here today, like we only have a finite amount of time, money, energy, resources. And we do have at Giftology a full service gifting agency that can help businesses completely outsource this relationship strategy and appreciation. But the reality is that there's a lot of small business owners, service-based business professionals, solopreneurs that know they want this as their strategy, not just gifting, but relationships, and need a community, need a system, need coaching and accountability to plug into their business and help them through it, to do it with them. And that's what Rich Relationship Society is. So we really took all of our learnings in the agency, all of the amazing systems that John had developed, right? The things that are in the book Beyond Giftology as well. And we have a community and education-based platform for those service-based business professionals who want to plug in and take relationships as a strategy seriously. So there's a course in there. It's called Referral Partner Transformation. Truly allows you to cope, collect, organize, prioritize, and energize your contacts. We have a playbook and all the good stuff. We have coaching in there. And then, I think what makes business and this type of business fun is to be surrounded by people who have the same values and who believe that reciprocal, influential, connected, humble, rich relationships are what makes doing business with these type of people great.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I know I'm excited to be a part of that community and just share wins with other people that are, doing similar. Listen for approaches and strategies, because as we go through this life, there's things that we need to ask, and like I'm always interested in strategies around, hey, I want to do a personalized mug for this person, but like I've got like 3 of the 5 categories I'm really comfortable with, but I need some help like figuring out what's the background that I need to really round out this gift. Um, or you know, I need this person's home address.
How do I get it? We get
How
that
do I get
question
it,
all the
right?
time in the community. So yeah, it's those little tips and tricks. And what we love and hope this grows into is that these things start to be industry specific. So, once we have 30 financial advisors inside of Rich Relationship Society, those financial advisors are all sharing their best tips and tricks and tools and systems of how they build relationships with estate attorneys as referral partners or whoever that may be. I think finding community around this is really important, because we all know that businesses rise and fall on relationships, and that does not exclude the company that you keep to support your business along the way either.
Well, Luke, anything else top of your mind today or questions we haven't explored yet?
No, I love it. I love the concept of return on relationship. I think it's important for everyone to understand. I think this idea that it takes time and thinking of loyalty as an outcome, like just being able to name that the outcome is loyalty and that's what we're aiming for, is super valuable, right? That loyalty is what drives financial return. We know that that's true on the team member side and side organizations. And I love this with applying it to referral relationships and peering relationships and client relationships as well.
Yeah, my takeaway is, kind of focusing on the delight that triggers that, right? And how many different ways can I figure out how to like someone, let them know I'm thinking about them, whether it's a video, a personalized gift, or just, I don't know, I talk to my giftologist about 14 other strategies.
Yeah, you don't have to think about those things, Chris, because you have us and Cammie and all the people on your team to make sure those things happen.
Yeah, and just continue to get better at it, right? Because it is like learning a new language. It is different than the way that maybe we're taught, or maybe it's just more of an absence of information around these ideas. But yeah, I just want to keep practicing. And, Sara, I just want to appreciate you for being here and would love to have you kind of sing us out. And, what are our key takeaways and how do people that are interested in this idea of, hey, I want to prioritize, I want to energize, I want to, have a network and know what my network consists of and do these things intentionally. How do they connect with your organization?
Well, let me first start off by saying that my takeaway is that, like, you guys are awesome. This conversation was awesome. And having conversations like this are energizing to me and like our relationship, right, between Giftology and y'all. So I just really appreciate the opportunity to be here. If everyone listening wants to get plugged in to learn more or connect with me, I'm available on LinkedIn. Just my name, Sara Hardwick. Sarah's without an H. And you guys can find us at giftologygroup.com. That's where all of the resources, booking a call, links, all that good stuff can be found to learn more about our services and offerings.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. We look forward, the thing about Giftology is you all are always on the leading edge of what's next and then always emerging and inviting different ways for us to engage with other courageous leaders, to advance our intentions to be grateful about all the awesome things that we get to experience. So thank you, Sara, for being an amazing representative of your company and your values and how you activate those every day. It's been wonderful to have you on here. And Luke, do you want to code us out?
Sure thing. Thanks everyone for listening. Magic in the Room is a production of Purpose and Performance Group. You can find us at magicintheroom.com, purposeandperformancegroup.com, or by searching for any of us on whatever your favorite social network is. Our producer is Ethan Babylon of Babylon Productions. Theme music is by Evan Grimm. You can find his music on Apple Music. Hope everyone has a great day.